What you're about to begin is an epic. It's an epic because it features the conquest of the impossible, full of myths and legends, from microbiology to minotaurs, from the depths of evil to the heights of possibility. Starting now, and for the next 100 episodes, we'll follow a young woman as she follows her own intuition into the deepest mysteries of life. Why are we here? What are we supposed to do? How's it all gonna end? Have patience, dear listener. What begins with a whimper won't end that way. This is not a story about a quiet life of desperation. No. This is Homer's Odyssey, Dante's Divine Comedy, Jennifer Dash's quest. Welcome, and brace yourself. It's a bumpy ride. Solve the World, Episode 1. Meet Jennifer Dash.
Hysj, kan du høre meg til meg som lå.
Let me present to you Jennifer Dash. 17 years of age, 5'9", dirty blonde hair that falls just to the small of the back, undeniably pretty, but the type of pretty that doesn't stand out in a crowd. Her charm is as such that in one moment she could easily pass for a tall 14-year-old, and then the next pull off that college-grad look. You would like her immediately if you met her. And you should. Jennifer Dash is a wonderful human being, full of youthful exuberance, naive charisma, childish glee, and a curiosity that could rival Nikola Tesla. Today she's wearing an orange shirt, cut-offs, and $17 wadded up in her back pocket. And, as is her style, she sports knee-high socks with matching colored Skechers. But we get ahead of ourselves. We really do hope you like her. You're stuck with her now. You're stuck with her for quite a while. This is how it goes. Awoken by a sound, perhaps a distant thunder, Jennifer became aware that she didn't understand life. She got up, grabbed her favorite old, moldy black backpack, and pushed open the front screen door, letting it slam on her rear on the way out. Okay, let's pause right there. We want everything to go well here. The beginning of an adventure, it's gotta hook you. It's gotta get you involved. How is that best communicated? What could possibly draw you into this massive journey led by a young girl none of us know? It's a daunting task. Focus. Focus on Jen. She's the valuable one here. She's worth the risk, worth the hours and hours and years spent with her. She's the girl for you. And she knew, even then, walking out that door, that this understanding of life, it's not the same as figuring out one's own purpose in life, or the cliché phrase, I'm going to find myself. None of that business. No, Jen somehow understood the fallacy of searching for her own special purpose or destiny or whatever you want to call it. To do so would be to center all of human history around herself. And that, friends, seemed quite far-fetched to our young protagonist. That's part of what makes Jen interesting, what makes her unique and precious in our eyes. For a teenager to see beyond herself like that, in this modern age of distraction, who does that? So again, Jen pushed upon that screen door, uncaring as it slammed her on the rear on the way out. Off to solve the world. Somehow. As Jen walked those first few steps past her door, she began to reason that she needed some sort of system of organization. She would acquire data. Lots and lots of data. Surely one needed facts and figures in order to categorize and therefore digest the world as a whole. But how on earth was she to organize all that stuff the world had to offer? While submerged in these throes of contemplation, Jen reached the neighbor's mailbox. She stopped, stared at it, then with little hesitation, opened the box, taking the mail along with her. And so she walked, away from her past, away from her home turf, away from that screen door with someone else's mail in hand. But what am I walking toward? Jen pondered. There was no sidewalk on this street, so she instinctively followed the dotted line in the middle of the road. Perhaps, if she had seen the movie, Jen would have blurted out, "Follow the yellow brick road." But alas, she was blithely unaware of that story. So she continued along the dotted line free of any analogous musical melody. What Jen did think at that moment, as she perused her recently acquired stolen mail, was this. Okay, so a system. How to devise a system. Perhaps the mail has some insight for me. Mail. How did I come to know this as mail? Somewhere in time, someone taught me about the postal service, and therefore, I assumed these papery items found in certain flagged boxes were delivered by men from various far-off lands. And I called this mail. I see it now. Oh, it's so clear. Up until this moment, up until this dotted line, I've built my life upon stolen information. I trusted that this mail service was real, based on the word of others. Why should I accept that information? There, that's a starting point. No belief without direct experience. Okay. But I shouldn't become a doubter of others. I don't want to be a skeptic. So, I'll believe the experiences of others, but not their second-hand knowledge. Again, that's a starting point. That's something to build from, a base. Only accept experience as data, or the first-hand experience of others that I choose to trust. If I'm to believe that this paper in my hands is mail, then I must meet someone who delivers the mail and can vouch for the mail system. Or as a second option of intake, I myself must become a mail person in order to fully embrace the very idea of mail. But as far as I know, I haven't met a mailman that I trust. So logically then, I can't accept this mail as mail. Wonderful, Jen. You're getting it, old girl. I shall call these papers in my hand that I picked out of the box with a metal flag on it Humpfaliandra. At that thought, Jen suddenly held out the mail with both her hands and announced to anyone in earshot, "Hello, Humpfaliandra! Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to hold you in my hands like so." Jen thought, but wait. I can call this Humpfaliandra all I want, but that doesn't negate my memory. I still know this as mail. I've just given it a new name, but it's still mail. I can't simply erase what I've learned. It came to her then in a flash, in one word. Myth. Jen realized then that of course she couldn't undo 17 years of life education. She couldn't unmail the mail. But what she could do is recategorize it. Mail became, in an instant, along with all the other lessons Jen had been taught, a myth. There was data, and there was myth. Data was Humpfaliandra. Myth was mail. That's just how it was. Jen thought, okay, old girl, everything you've been taught is myth. Everything you've learned from experience is data useful to solve the world. I don't need to write it down. These are commandments to be memorized. This is important. This is vital. When I want to talk about the process of sending and receiving papers of information using the Postal Service, I refer to these things as the myth of mail. It remains myth because I have no way, at this time, to be sure that this system of delivery works as I have been told. Therefore, myth. When I simply want to refer to the papers that have appeared inside metal boxes with flags, I refer to Humpfaliandra, which of course, being observed from my own experience, is not myth, but solid as a rock data. As Jen now strolled down the center of the street, she sighed, pleased with herself that after merely traveling a few paces down the road, she'd already grown so wise and made such dramatic inroads into solving the world. Not knowing where to take her mind next, she drew her attention away from her newfound commandments to the Humpfaliandra in her hands. A bill from a credit card company. Due payment of $174.71. Addressed to Redjeb Heller. Redjeb, what a funny name. Address, 300 Room Street, Jennings, Louisiana, 70546. Also included in the loot was a Macy's catalog. Flipping through, the Halloween section caught her eye. Page 67 had a little boy in an astronaut costume. On his left chest, his blue jumpsuit showed off a big old NASA insignia stitched in. Jen thought, NASA. When was I first told that men had walked on the moon? I can't remember. It seems like a fact of life. Every American child is taught their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s, and that Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and that other guy went to the moon in 1969, officially showing the Russians that capitalism is awesomer than communism. That sure showed them. Look at how Humpty Dumpty's walls fell down. Ha! But why should I believe that story? How could I count this as data? As something I know to be true? Maybe the Russians tell their people that they got there first. Maybe they call it Soviet Moon, or Moon Union. For that matter, how do I know that Russia exists? I've never been there. Have I met anyone who's been there? Kibbles and bits. It's too hard to remember the past. New commandment I declare. Only people I meet from this moment on count in this hunt to solve the world. Let the past lie down and sleep a while. Who cares for it anyway? It can't help me now. So there is a myth of man going to the moon and a myth of Russians and Russia. Just like, as I see now on pages 70 and 71, there is a myth of vampires and a myth of zombies. I should treat all these ideas as equal. All things are myth, and I need to prove them one way or the other in order to treat them as data. The third envelope contained a handwritten letter. It read, "Hi, Red. How are you? I'm okay. You haven't come over lately, have you? Why is that? Is it me? Are you ignoring me, or just the world in general? Yesterday they voted off Tony. I know, crazy. These are treacherous times we live in, old man. You just can't trust people to make the right decisions anymore. Isn't that right? See? You're rubbing off on me even when you're not around. This pessimism thing. It's kinda cute, actually. I miss you. Is it the communists? Has your paranoia grown? You can be honest with me about that stuff. You know that, right? I'm trustworthy. And reliable. Well, perhaps not so reliable, but, I'm trustworthy with secrets and stuff. Even if the Reds, note the plural rather than the honorable singular form of the word, even if the Reds were to bang down my door and torture me for 47 hours straight with voodoo and Chinese water torture, I'd still never give those scumbags your inner deep thoughts. Besides, even if I wanted to tell someone something, who would I tell? I'm not well connected. Jennifer Dash turned her gaze mid-sentence from the paper in hand to a bird whistling in a nearby pine tree. Her mind was on the Russians. She thought, commies are on everybody's mind, I guess. Even the Macy's catalog. Why else would they have those big, bad NASA emblems on the outer space outfits? I'll tell you why, old girl. They wanted the whole world to know they're selling good old-fashioned capitalist American astronautic gear, rather than cosmonaut corduroys. Cosmonauts and astronauts. Funny words. Two more myths to ponder. I'm hungry. Jen stopped walking. Two simultaneous thoughts vied for control of her will. She was dreadfully hungry, and she was well aware that not eating led to bad paths of dark doom. Jen certainly didn't want dark and doom. She wanted light, bright, and free. Therefore, her body required sustenance. Nevertheless, she had a mission at hand, to solve the world, and the world wasn't just about to solve itself. And at this particular moment, she found herself entering into the first deep debate her adventure would lead her on. As she continues down the road to nearly endless physical wonders, this mental quandary will continue to rear its ugly head. We shall ask this question now, knowing that Jen won't come to a peaceful conclusion today. Many of Jen's upcoming perils will be from physical attacks and strange occurrences. This mental moment, however, provides a subtle uncertainty that will continue to lie as a harangue for Jennifer and perhaps for you. The question is this. Can the written word, now read, be included as data, or is it relegated to myth? The Halloween costume of the young astronaut brought this question to stunning reality for Jen. Does the picture of the boy validate the existence of that costume? Can she trust that picture? What tools does she have to reach a consensus within herself? This small question instantly multiplied and divided itself into thousands of individual quagmires. Jen pictured vast walls full of books full of stories of days gone by, experiments tried, battles fought, knowledge won. But can they be trusted? Any of them? Jennifer was overwhelmed. She took a big breath and recited aloud what she knew. I know I'm holding Humphraliandra, also known to me as the myth of male. I have learned about many myths in my past life. I accept none of them as truth as of yet. They are neither true nor false. They are merely ideas, yet to be realized to me. I see a picture of a boy in a spacesuit. I do not know whether to believe that he exists or not. I have $17 in my back pocket, and I am hungry. I will try to feed myself now using the $17 as a bartering tool, as the myth of money teaches me. I am hungry, and I will be fed. Jennifer took another big breath, smiled, and started walking again. She saw a fast food shop in the distance. She would test the myth of money next. Content with her new system, she named the question of books Flagatorindor. Jennifer Dash liked to name things. She would dispel the question of Flagatorindor one way or the other by venturing to Macy's in search of the costume. Then, she would hunt down a supposed mailman and solve the myth of mail. But first, she would quiet her stomach. Food ahead. Solve the World is produced by me, Dante Stack. I'd like to thank the many generous artists at freesound.org and freemusicarchive.org, where I found all the music and sound effects for this show. Full attribution for those sound effects and music are located on my website at dantestack.com/solvetheworld under show notes. If you like the show, then please express your support and write a review on iTunes. That's the biggest way anyone can help out the show at this point in the game. Besides that, you can also join our Facebook group at facebook.com/solvetheworldpodcast. Also, if you're interested, check out my other podcast, 365 Honest Questions, which is on iTunes, Stitcher, or at my website, dantestack.com. Thanks!
Hi, I'm Josie from the southwest of England. I've listened to all 100 episodes of Jen's story. Please, stay the course. Continue as Jen builds off from her humble beginnings and uses all of her capacities to make sense of this planet. Next time, Jen gets more than she bargains for when she exchanges her back pocket money for fast food. What she hears will offer her a roadmap as she begins to explore her self-proclaimed destiny to solve the world.